Thank you for joining us at the Lead Center today for the webinar Promoting Economic Advancement, Implement Free Tax Prep Services. We're very excited to have you join us today, and we appreciate your participation. My name is Elizabeth Jennings. I'm the Assistant Project Director for the Lead Center and a staff member of National Disability Institute. I'm pleased to have us join us today, Dan Mayer, a tax analyst with the RSpec at the national headquarters. Other speakers today will include Phil Johnson, a Disability Resource Coordinator with the Workforce Investment Network in Memphis, Tennessee. Rick Mulder, Director of Program Operations, South Central Tennessee Workforce Alliance in Columbia, Tennessee. And Pruitt, a Disability Resource Coordinator with South Central Tennessee Workforce Alliance in Columbia, Tennessee. Thank you at the start to all of our speakers. We really appreciate you joining us today. The LEADER, or the National Center on Leadership for the Employment and Economic Advancement of People with Disabilities, is a collaborative of disability, workforce, and economic empowerment organizations led by National Disability Institute with funding from the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy. We're pleased to have the Lead Center with us and here at National Disability Institute, and we're thankful to our partners at the Office of Disability Employment Policy. I'm now invite my colleague Nakia Matthews to share with you some information about participating on today's webinar.
Good afternoon, everyone. The audio for today's webinar is being broadcast through your computer. Please ensure your speakers are turned on or headphones are plugged in. You can control the audio broadcast from the audio broadcast panel, which you see below. If accidentally close this panel or if the sound becomes jumbled, you close the panel and reopen it again from the top menu item by going to Communicate, Join Audio Broadcast. If you have sound capabilities on your computer or you prefer to listen by phone, you can dial the number you see here and enter the attendee ID to the meeting code, and you do need to enter an attendee ID. Visual captioning is provided during this webinar for those who are deaf, hard of hearing, or for whom English is a second language. The captions can be found in the Media Viewer panel, which appears in the lower right corner of the webinar platform. If you make the Media Viewer panel larger, you can minimize some of the other panels like chat or Q&A or participants. And conversely, if you want to make the media panel smaller, you can click the triangle and close it down. There will be a question and answer session at the end of the webinar. Please use the chat box or the Q&A box to send any questions you have during the webinar to me, Nakia Matthews, or Brittany Taylor, and we will direct the questions accordingly. If you're listening by phone and not logged into the webinar platform, you may also ask questions by emailing Brittany directly at btaylor@ni-inc.org. This webinar is being recorded, and the materials will be placed on the ND website at the URL below, and we will share this URL again in the chat box for everyone. If you experience any technical difficulties during the webinar, please use the chat box to send a message to me, Nakia Matthews, or you can also email me directly at nmatthews@ni-inc.org.
Thank you much, Nakia. Today's show will include a review of webinar outcomes, what we learned today, issue, some information about the economic insecurity of individuals with disabilities and the impact of the Earned Income Tax Credit on low-wage workers, overview of 4 free tax preparation models, how you might go about implementing free tax preparation services within American Job Center, workers from 2 different job centers and the replicable American Job Center models that they've taken on to provide free tax preparation services within AJC. We're then going to open it up for question and answers, and as Nakia mentioned, you can send your questions to us in the chat box or in the Q&A box. Our outcomes for today include we'll have a deeper understanding of the impact of personal financial challenges on employment outcomes, the poverty that individuals with disability live in, and the impact of the Earned Income Tax Credit. Be exposed to American Job Centers that have implemented financial stability programs within their American Job Center, and you will be better equipped to implement free tax preparation services in your American Job Center or your community-based program. The Lead Center is to advance sustainable individual and systems level change that results in improved, competitive, integrated employment and economic self-sufficiency outcomes for individuals across the spectrum of disability. We feel confident that as part of the Lead Center's mission, your better understanding of economic advancement strategies, including providing free tax preparation services, will help to increase the opportunities that you can provide to individuals so that they can understand their financial future and use that understanding and the goals that they have for themselves to devise a pathway to employment that will help them to be more self-sufficient. So let's take a few minutes to frame the issue and talk a little bit about economic insecurity. In 2011, Wider Opportunities for Women did a survey that showed that nearly half of all Americans lack economic security. What that means is that nearly half of all Americans live above the federal poverty threshold, but they still do not have enough money to cover housing, food, health care, and other basic expenses. The poorest 15% of households, which disproportionately include individuals with disabilities, have zero or negative net worth, and they have few or no net assets. Blind also know that individuals with disabilities live in poverty at rates twice that of non-disabled individuals, and that many of the public benefit programs that they participate in consistently deliver the message that they should not earn more money, should not save more money, and should not be thinking about their financial future. The Earned Income Tax Credit and providing free tax preparation services is that it provides an opportunity for people to look at the earnings that they're making, to capture some unallocated dollars, and then to think about how they might use those funds to increase their economic security. To share information with you about the Earned Income Tax Credit and free tax preparation services, I'm now going to hand it over to our speaker from the IRS, Mr. Dan Mayer. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me on this webinar today. And just to follow up, the Earned Income Tax Credit, of course, is one of the largest anti-poverty programs that we do have for individuals and working individuals and families. In 2011, the Earned Income Tax Credit lifted an estimated 6.6 million people out of poverty, about half of those individuals' children. And that same year, nearly 27 million taxpayers received about $59.5 billion from the Earned Income Tax Credit, the average refund being $2,204. And of course, the tax refund for many individuals is the largest dollar figure that they'll see on any transaction during any single year. And Elizabeth also talked about the synergy between the Earned Income Tax Credit and free income tax assistance through our free Vidas program and TCE program. Almost 3.2 million returns were prepared by Vidas volunteers last year, and more than $2.9 million is saved in tax preparation fees annually by tax filers using Vidas alone. So we'd like everybody to claim the Earned Income Tax Credit who's eligible for it, but our studies have shown that between 1/5 and 1/4 of those individuals who are eligible for the EITC do actually claim the EITC. And of course, in the IRS, one of the things we try to do here in our SPEC organization is to work with various organizations to conduct outreach and education to inform taxpayers that they are indeed eligible for these credits, and we certainly have our EITC awareness days every year in late January to promote these credits. Just a short list of folks who may not claim these credits. They're likely to be unemployed, to be an individual with a disability or have a child with a disability, individuals in rural areas, individuals who are non-English speaking, English as a second language, be a grandparent raising their grandchildren, or to be self-employed. So there's a wide variety of individuals who would fall under this category of folks who can claim the earned income tax credit but fail to do so. I'm positioned to talk a little bit about our free tax preparation services, and obviously one of the goals of our free tax preparation program is obviously to make sure that individuals who can't claim those credits, such as the EITC, are able to do so, and also to save the tax preparation fees that we mentioned earlier. There's 4 different models that the IRS is involved with in terms of free tax preparation services. The first one is known as the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, or Vidas. There's also the Tax Counseling for the Elderly Program, TCE, that falls under that as well. We also have what we call Virtual Vidas, IRS Free File, and Facilitated Self-Assistance. We'll talk about those in more detail here in the upcoming slides. The Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program has been around for over 40 years and provides free in-person tax preparation services in the community at a variety of locations. They could be libraries, community action centers, all kinds of spots in your neighborhood and your community that are available for taxpayers to come in during the week, on weekends, whenever those sites are open to provide those services. Services are generally available to low and moderate income taxpayers, usually around $50,000 or below. Usually closely mirrors the income threshold for the earned income tax credit. It utilizes IRS certified volunteers. These are individuals that go through a training program. We call it Link and Learn, or they do the self-study training, and then certify through a testing procedure to make sure that they do understand the tax law when they are communicating with our taxpayers. The volunteers are trained, of course, to claim the earned income tax credit, the child tax credit, and any other tax provisions for which the individual may qualify, and of course those services are free. So it is a free service, but we do make sure that we have our volunteers trained and certified so that they can claim all the credits and deductions that our taxpayers who enter those sites are entitled to. The VIDA piece is a relatively new part of the overall VIDA program. It's been around for a few years now. It's been more of an outreach of our rural or alternative filing delivery model, when face-to-face method is not a reasonable option. For example, if you have taxpayers in more rural communities in your state, who might have to drive several hundred miles over a period of hours to get to a site and spend several hours there waiting to get the return done. This is an option for those folks, and it could be also in a city. Maybe it's a hard-to-reach location or a spot that just doesn't have very good mass transit opportunities. These ways that we have basically empowered partners to provide these services in a virtual capacity. So we have 2 components to this model. We call it an intake site and a preparation site. The intake site basically does the function of even a normal quote-unquote VIDA site, where we would have a volunteer go through the process of administering the intake sheet, basically a questionnaire to walk the taxpayer through what their income is and what their situation is, their financial situation, their family situation. Sure we have all the documents and supporting forms needed to prepare the return. So the intake site would do that process at a location. Again, it could be several hundred miles away, where the taxpayer comes in and we have a volunteer. They don't need to be certified at that point, but they're just doing the dotting the I's, crossing the T's, making sure we have all the documents that the taxpayer will need to file the return. We have the other component, which is our preparation site. Preparation site is where the actual return is getting completed and filled out by the volunteer. That is, of course, certified by the volunteer who goes through that process of completing that paperwork and filling out those forms on TaxWise or whatever other system they use, and then communicates with the taxpayer when the process is done to review the return and make sure that they understand the process that they use to calculate their tax and ultimately, hopefully, their refund. Mentions on the slide here that the tax filer and a second certified volunteer review the return before filing. Again, the key components of the VIDA and TCE program overall is emphasis on quality service to the taxpayer. Again, it is a free service, but we want to make sure that this is a process where the taxpayer is getting all the credits they deserve and getting a quality product when they walk out the door. So there's a process then where the taxpayer will communicate with that preparer and or quality reviewer to make sure that the return is complete and correct. This is something, a process where typically there'll be a transmission of the taxpayer's information through, it'll be faxed or scanned to a third party, to a preparation site. There'll be communication either over the phone or through some sort of secure video conferencing method, again, to walk that taxpayer through. So it's as if they were at the same location, but they're just doing it in the virtual environment. So the virtual data program, again, has been an outgrowth of the rural strategy, but we had a fair amount of success last year, and we seem to have increased opportunities for success here in 2013. The next leg of the stool is the IRS Free File program. There's two services that can be accessed through Free File. The first one is the Free File software. There's an organization that is known as the Free File Alliance. The IRS partners with the Free File Alliance to provide free tax preparation services through the IRS.gov website. On the IRS.gov site, you'll actually notice that there is a banner on the front page that mentions Free File, and when you click there, you can actually go and go to a menu of options for the various Free File companies. This includes many of the leading industry participants such as H&R Block and TurboTax and Xlayer and many of the other organizations that provide this service. It's a self-paced, interview-based model, which provides, of course, guidance to taxpayer to do their own return, and each of the companies, of course, provides their own level of service and support and responds to various questions as they come up on the screen as the taxpayer navigates the process. For the federal return, it's available at no cost for the annual gross income of $7,000 or less, which translates to 70% of America's taxpayers from 2012. The website, of course, is listed on the screen, and it's also, again, available directly through IRS.gov. Free fillable forms is a more recent addition to the process. Free File has been around for just over 10 years. Free File fillable forms, a little bit less than that. Free File fillable forms would be an option for individuals who don't prefer the interview-based method. I know many of us do like to walk through and get the questions and answers, but if you know exactly what you're filling in on your form, Free File fillable forms is the product for you. Available at the federal level, and it's available for all taxpayers, and it is free of charge. And I think one of the benefits overall of Free File and, of course, our initiatives with partners through our IDA and TCE programs, again, the benefits of e-filing. I'll just talk that for a quick minute. Of course, it's faster for the taxpayer. because the transmission goes through with modernized file sometimes in minutes, if not within a couple of hours. It's more efficient. We find out if there's any errors on the return very quickly. The responses come back and are more friendly. They're more descriptive in terms of what the issue is that needs to be resolved. So all these processes using electronic filing obviously speeds up the process, and ultimately the refund, especially through direct deposit. So the Free-File fillable forms is available at no cost, regardless of income. I want to talk just for a minute about the facilitated self-assistance piece, which was the other stool that I mentioned earlier. We do have, just as a quick side note, we do have agreements with basically 2 organizations to provide free self-prep at sites around the country with a certified Vidas volunteer available to assist. In this case, the volunteer does not prepare the return. There is a tax coach to walk the individual through the process and to answer any questions that the taxpayer has. So in this example, the tax coach is not the preparer. They're there to help out and just to answer questions and make sure the taxpayer completes their return accurately. The other organization, again through the partnership with United Way and NDI and Goodwill Industries, is the myfreetaxes.com model, and we've been working in partnership for at least the last 3 years and to a lesser extent before that. As the slide notes, My Free Taxes is in its 5th year. It was launched in 2009 and funded through the grants from the Walmart Foundation. I mentioned the partnerships that we're very pleased to be directly involved with this year. And again, the purpose is to increase access to the Earned Income Tax Credit, and I believe, I know I've been on some prior webinars and in some training sessions, and my memory serves me, I believe a number of folks of a higher percentage actually claim the Earned Income Tax Credit through the My Free Taxes program in prior years. So provide access to all the credits that the taxpayers do, as well as free income tax preparation all the way up to $57,000 for federal and state and multi-state. It's obviously a terrific benefit for many individuals because it covers, again, 70% of the population. So again, it's kind of a combination of different models, the volunteer-assisted piece, as well as online self-tax preparation. I know one of the added features this year was the addition of toll-free support through United Way Worldwide for any individual who uses the My Free Taxes program. I know we've probably had several thousand folks contact the toll-free number, the chat feature, or email in the first few weeks of the filing season. The emphasis, of course, is on previously underserved populations, including individuals with disabilities. Again, and just increasing access for all so that individuals can file their tax return and get the credits that they deserve. As I just mentioned a minute ago, My Free Taxes is online and through Facilitated Self-Assistance, or FSA, that we call it here at headquarters in SPEC, is available to any individual who has an AGI or earned income of $57,000 or less in 2012. And the big benefit is free federal and free state filing. So the details are below. Just one small bit which I hadn't noticed earlier, but initially that the My TX Help toll-free number, and it's an 855 number. Of course, one of the things is with all the toll-free numbers, sometimes it's easy to get those confused and substitute the wrong number. So if you get the wrong organization, just check that number and call back, because we do have through the partnership with the United Way and their assisters, they're there to answer those questions. But the hours of assistance are they're actually 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So scratch that 8 p.m. on your your slide and update that. It's 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Saturday. So the 211 folks are there to help, and they have levels of assistance to make sure that issues are resolved, including if somebody's mistakenly charged for the service, or if they have a tax law question, simple or more complex. They're there to help with those issues, as well as issues with just navigating the software. A lot of feedback we've received last year and even into this year is any questions that come through the hotline are basically software related. How do I get to the next screen? How do I complete this part of the form, et cetera. So the key is obviously if somebody does run into a question, to make sure that they consult with a certified volunteer if it's at an FSA site, or to call the toll-free number. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn the presentation back to Elizabeth, and I appreciate your time. So.
Thanks. It's really a pleasure to have you join us. So with so many different opportunities for individuals to participate in free tax preparation, some of you may find it surprising that we still have a good percentage of individuals with disabilities that are not filing their taxes and are not accessing favorable tax provisions like the Earned Income Tax Credit. It essentially means that they're leaving money on the table. So it's wonderful for us to look at opportunities for implementing these free tax preparation services where individuals are, and particularly where they're going to seek employment. One of the challenges that presents itself within the disability community is that sometimes individuals are working low-wage jobs or working intermittently. And that may give the message to folks that, well, I haven't worked a lot or earned a lot, so I have no tax liability and I don't really need to file my taxes. When individuals make that choice not to file, or they're not given good information to encourage them to file, then miss out on favorable tax provisions, and they leave money on the table by not claiming their Earned Income Tax Credit. So it's important that we try to implement free tax preparation services where low-wage workers are, and it would include the American Job Centers. So we've provided for you 8 steps that offer a practical outline for implementing free tax prep services at your American Job Center, or I can see from the attendee list, many of you are participating from other community-based organizations. We're going to go into deep detail on them, but I'm going to touch a little bit on these as we go through them. The first step would be to explore the available free tax preparation services, which you're starting to do today, and we're going to give you more information about in just a minute. The second step is to identify partners, some internal partners and some external partners. The third step is to determine your program design, and we're thrilled to have 2 American Job Centers on the line with us today who will tell you a little bit about how they made these decisions and what that looks like. The rubber meets the road, and they're rolling out these programs. Is to tackle the logistics. It's really nice that we have Dan Mayer on the line today, because the RSpec is an important partner anytime you think about doing free tax preparation services, and they help understand what the different logistics are that folks will need to tackle, including having people on whether they're volunteers or their staff that are going to be certified to do the free tax preparation service. The wonderful thing about the Vidas sites and many of these programs is that volunteers are IRS certified to do free tax preparation. And Dan, maybe you can share with us a little bit about what that certification looks like and what the percentage of returns are that are accurate compared to other groups.
Well, to the accuracy compared to other groups, it's lean studies. It basically says it's very comparable in terms of the accuracy percent. So that we do shopping visits, and we also have external organizations to us do shopping visits as well. But overall, the feedback that we get is typically our results are very comparable to those on the outside in the industry and elsewhere. So again, it's a very thorough process in terms of the review and the certification and the testing for individuals. So individuals have to certify through the various levels. You have we have a basic level and then intermediate, advanced, and so on. So we make sure that individuals are only do returns or prepare returns within the scope of their expertise. So again, we don't want somebody with a basic certification doing rental income returns or anything like that. So we make sure that we target those folks to do only those returns for which they're qualified to do.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I also would suggest that you think about how you're going to market your free tax preparation services. Of course, many of you have a captive audience in the job center or the community-based programs that you offer, but you may also want to think about how are you going to attract individuals with disabilities, since they are one of the underserved population. If you visit the National Disability Institute website, Nikki, if you could put it in the chat box, it's www.realeconomicimpact.org. We have on our website a virtual toolkit for folks who are doing free tax preparation services that gives you information about how you can market to the disability community, and also provides some wonderful tools for you, like an e-learning webinar that gives volunteers an opportunity to receive more information about how they can be disability friendly and provide services within the site to individuals with disabilities. And then step 6, we suggest that you think how you might measure your outcomes. How you're going to identify those that you served. Potentially, you might think about wondering what they're going to do with their tax refund, and if they're going to take the next step of linking to other economic empowerment strategies that may help them as they move towards a path towards a brighter financial future. And step 7, you want to utilize feedback. Connect back with those who had their taxes done. Find out how they liked the support they received. Also, volunteers can provide you with wonderful information about what they experienced, what they heard from individuals that they served. And step 8, which seems to have disappeared from our slide, is use the feedback to improve services. Tax preparation is not a one-time gig. It's something that you can provide year after year and can be a service that really beautifully complements some of the other work you're doing to support low-wage job seekers and low-wage workers. Let's talk back up at step 1, extending the IRS's free tax preparation services. There are 2 guides that you may want to consider looking at that will give you some additional information about the IRS's free tax preparation services. One is last year's Partner Resource Package, and we've provided the link for you there. Partner Resource Package gives information about the different tax preparation services to give you a chance to kind of read through it, sit with it, and think a little bit more about what would be right for your center. And then also there's the 2012 IRS Volunteer Site Coordinator's Handbook, which goes down into some of the logistics that you're going to have to think about as you're looking at each of the different tax preparation options. We're fortunate that the 2 sites are speaking on the line today offer 2 different tax preparation services, so you'll have a chance to hear a little bit about the differences between the 2 and kind of how they manage those projects and their differences. If you are interested after today's presentation in learning more about the My Free Taxes project and you think that would be the right model for you, we provide for you here my colleague Jamie Robinson's information so that you can reach out to Jamie and see how you might be able to participate in that project. Her email is jrobinson@ndi-inc.org. The next step, or step 2, is to identify partners. And of course, you want to consider 2 types of partners, your internal partners and then your external partners. We know at the American Job Centers you have a lot of internal partners, But I think what we want to do today is talk to you a little bit about how you could align this with different aspects of the services you provide in the American Job Center. So partners being your other staff members, and then the other community-based programs that are providing these different services. Three we wanted to talk to you about are the Ticket to Work, which is for individuals with disabilities who receive Social Security disability benefits, such as SSDI or SSI, TANF program participants, and youth program participants. These are targeted programs within American Job Centers that you want to think about because the populations that are served align very well with the population that is targeted for receiving free tax preparation services, in particular the Earned Income Tax Credit. And you keep coming back to the Earned Income Tax Credit because it's a really big sell. The Earned Income Tax Credit can provide up to several $1,000s for individuals who have low wages and who file their taxes. So the free tax preparation services are a vehicle to claiming those unclaimed dollars and can be a really strong sell when trying to market free tax preparation services to those that you serve. So for individuals who are under the Ticket to Work program, the Ticket to Work program is designed to encourage individuals to pursue employment and then to build their employment as they understand what their abilities are on the job, and they gain some security, and they start to get to a place where they're willing to let go of some or all of their Social Security cash benefit. So the Ticket to Work program, all-time experiences individuals who begin their employment at a lower wage and build towards increased income. So because the individuals typically come into Ticket to Work earning sometimes part-time wages, it makes them a really good candidate for falling within an economic range that would allow them to participate in free tax preparation services, and it would probably mean that they would be eligible for the Earned Income Tax Credit. Those individuals that are participating in TANF programs show that 60% of those that are employed post-TANF are usually employed at low wages. So and that indicates that that would be a population of people that would be eligible for the free tax preparation services and be enticed to get those services by knowing that they could use that as a pathway to claim the Earned Income Tax Credit. A program that we wouldn't always think about as far as free tax services go are youth programs. Sometimes we think about taxes being primarily an adult issue, but youth programs oftentimes providing for the youth to work, and by that extension, you could tap into the families that may be eligible for the Earned Income Tax Credit and for these tax prep services. Also great to support those youth so that they can start to understand what life would be like when they're really paying taxes. They would also have to pay their taxes, and so youth would be a great population to serve through your free tax preparation services. To help you as you're trying to build support internally, back in 2011, Department of Labor, Employment and Training Administration put out a training and employment notice that we provided for you here that encouraged American Job Centers to support Free File and other resources, free income tax preparation and filing. The directive was really to look at partnering with the IRS Spec and with other local free tax preparation service providers to help them market their services to American Job Center job seekers. But I think this training and employment notice further supports you in seeking to provide those services in-house. When you're at step 2 in identifying partners, you will also think about external partners. And you're really not going to get any better partner than the IRS Spec. We often say the IRS Spec is the softer side of the IRS, and they play a key role in helping set up your free tax prep services and you understand all of the logistics involved. And I'm just going to ask Dan if he might step in one more time again to talk a little bit about how folks go out connecting with the IRS spec and what they can expect when they reach out to a spec office in their local area?
And Elizabeth, and as you said, the IRS, our spec office, the Stakeholder Partnerships, Education, and Communication organization, our mission is basically to work with various organizations in the community to promote free tax preparation through the VIDA program and tax counseling for the elderly, conduct of course outreach on various credits and issues with filing taxes, as well as financial education and outreach and financial education and asset building piece, which is obviously the crucial part of the tax refund, to make sure that the dollars are being used wisely in terms of building assets and wealth over time. So essentially, we will, obviously work with community-based organizations in promoting these services, and we provide, of course, support and oversight and guidance to those partners to make sure that they have the resources they need, whether it's the software to do returns through TaxWise, or obviously through these facilitated models to coordinate those efforts to make sure that they have the links that are needed to credit for those returns. Obviously, another piece of the overall puzzle is the grant program, grants program office that oversees several $1 million annually of grant funding for VIDA and for TCE. So basically, in a lot of ways, we facilitate the process. It is a leveraged model. We do obviously ultimately depend on our partners to deliver the services to taxpayers, but we are there to, as the job description states, we are the tax consultants. We're there to provide that expertise and guidance and support to make sure that those programs work effectively. So a couple of bullets on the last bullet in terms of reaching your spec contact. Probably the best is to go through that partner at irs.gov. Of course, if there's any additional questions, I'm happy to take those as well. We do have spec tax consultants throughout the country in just about every state. We do cover the whole of the United States and make sure that we have folks there to support your efforts to provide these services to low and moderate income Americans. And so that's what I have for that, and I'll turn it back to you, Elizabeth.
Thanks, Dan. Okay, I would like you to think about that in many of your communities there are coalitions of stakeholders that also are providing free tax preparation as well as financial education and other kind of anti-poverty measures. And in each community, the language around this can change a little bit. So in some communities, they're called tax coalitions. In some communities, they're called asset building coalitions. In some communities, they're called prosperity campaigns. If you ever have a hard time connecting to who might be the coalition in your community, I want to invite you to reach out to myself, Elizabeth Jennings. My email is at the end, and I'd be happy to help connect you to a group in your local area. I've also found that the IRS spec is a great touch point because IRS spec in each local community has a really broad understanding of who are all the different partners that are participating in the different coalitions and working together to help make sure that there's a pathway to financial stability for low and moderate wage Americans. So why this is an important part of identifying partners is, as I mentioned earlier, you're really providing a way for individuals to tap into some dollars that they may not have been thinking about or expecting. And a great next step, as you think about this as a pathway to financial stability, a great next step after getting an individual's taxes done for free and claiming all of the favorable tax provisions that they can, including the Earned Income Tax Credit, would be to support individuals in thinking about what are they going to do with those funds. And it could be as simple as Are you going to open a bank account? There's a disproportionate number of individuals with disabilities that are still what's called unbanked or underbanked. So it's a great first step for folks. Maybe they're going to open a checking account or even open a savings account, which may be new for them. Perhaps they're going to look at paying down debt, and connecting with a credit counseling program would be a good next step for them. Or perhaps they're ready to think about a short or long-term asset and they'd like to be connected with a group like an individual development account provider. So that you want to keep in mind that what you're providing for folks is you're really opening the doorway for them to think about the money that they've earned, the money that they're getting back from the IRS, and some next steps that they could take to improve their financial stability. So when we think about identifying partners, you might want to keep that in mind. Not that you're necessarily going to, do all of this right out of the way, so to say, but you want to be able to join whatever coalition is going on in your local area and think about, I'm ready to take on taxes, but how will I connect people then to some of these next steps? Or maybe I'm not ready to take this on yet, but I'm interested in figuring out how do I connect folks to all of these different opportunities. Determine the program design that you're going to do in step 3. As we mentioned, there are 4 ways to offer free tax preparation services. Ann talked about there's VIDA, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, Virtual VIDA, the IRS Free File, and Facilitated Self-Assistance, which is VIDA Free File and My Free Taxes. And you want to think about which of these would be right for My American Job Center, given the time that we have to offer, the space that we may have, the level of commitment that we're able to provide at this time, and our ability to recruit volunteers to support the effort. Look at these a little bit more closely. When you think about the volunteer income tax assistance, the options, there's a few of them, depending on where you are right now in relation to those things I mentioned, particularly the level of commitment that you can provide at this point in time. There's a few options that you could think about. You could look at referring clients to Vidas sites within the local community. And if you are not sure how to get started doing that, the best bet would be to connect with the local tax coalition or the IRSpec person in your local area, or reach out to us and we'll help connect you. But one option that would be easy, you do that tomorrow. You can help refer clients to Vidas sites within the local community. Another option that you might decide upon is to provide space at your American Job Center for volunteers to offer free tax preparation services. And I've had the opportunity in preparing for this webinar to talk to some American Job Centers that's what they do. They provide space at no cost to VIDA volunteers who provide the free tax prep services, sometimes during American Job Center hours, sometimes after hours and on weekends. It just depends on the space and the availability of each center. You could also look at training American Job Center staff as VIDA volunteers. That's another option. And although that time has passed for this year, it would be a great option for next year. Look at referring clients to VIDA sites within the local community. As I mentioned, you could advertise free tax prep throughout the American Job Centers. But you could also take a next step, which would be to include free tax prep services as part of an individual's plan. When you think about what individuals can read from the free tax prep site, particularly VIDA site, they often set up where they are trying hard to connect people to other services. So it's not uncommon for a VIDA site in your local area to be connecting individuals to affordable banking services, to individual development account programs, and to other supports that would help them as they're looking at their building their financial stability. The services can really impact what an individual chooses to do around employment, because as individuals connect to more financial stability opportunities, they start to have a better understanding of what they want their financial life to look like. And as any of us would go about exploring a job, what you need to meet your budgetary needs and to build the kind of life you want should reflect in your employment. So individuals who are initially just looking for a job, they may not be thinking as much about what do I want my financial future to look like. So as people build their understanding of how to get to the financial future they want, they have different views of what their employment might look like. It'll be an important part of employment services accessing these different financial stability opportunities. To provide space at your American Job Center for Vida volunteers to offer free tax prep services, you're going to think about the site locations that you can offer. You're going to need to provide computers and supplies, and the IRS software is going to need to be installed on the computers. So it's a few logistical things that you're going to want to think about. You could also think about training American Job Center staff as volunteers. So you'd be recruiting volunteers, working with the IRS spec to certify all the volunteers in tax preparation, as Dan touched upon a little bit, free tax prep services, ensuring the quality through the use of all of the tools that the IRS spec makes available, and then using Vida supplement materials for more. You view the Vida supplement materials that we provided earlier for more information on this. We're going to hear very shortly from Phyllis Brunson, who's going to give us more information about how she does this at her American Job Center. We're going to start that now. And American Job Centers, several of them are engaged in activities that build the financial stability of the customers that they serve. And we're thrilled today to have two such centers with us. We have the South Central Tennessee Workforce Alliance that we're going to hear from in just a few minutes. And we're going to start with the Workforce Investment Network in Memphis, Tennessee. Phyllis Brunson, who's a Disability Resource Coordinator, on the line with us, and she's going to share with us a little bit about her model. Phyllis, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon, everyone.
So let's start off with asking you, what is the model you've implemented within the American Job Center?
Here we've implemented the Vidas tax assist.
And used to do that model.
We partnered with United Way, and doing so, United Way, we had a collaboration to have some of their technicians actually come in to our center, provide the services to our clients.
So do you have American Job Center staff that participate in this effort?
We have staff, primarily myself. The way we set the program up, I was the one that actually scheduled the appointments. But my frontline staff, all the way to our case managers, we were able to utilize everyone within our centers. We have centers here in the city of Memphis. And within those centers, we were able to get the out to all of the centers so that they could help market our process and getting the information out to the community. By doing so, we were able to efforts from all of our clients, either through emails or by telephone, to come out and so that they could have their taxes completed and take advantage of these free services.
Other than the United Way, are there other partners in the effort?
Understanding there are over 20 other sites here in the city of Memphis that are also participating in this effort, but currently we're just with United Way.
And the strategy that you've put together with United Way within your American Job Center, does it target one or more of the special populations that you serve?
Well, yes, it does. Our goal was to reach community and to provide the services to all that were could benefit from this service.
That's great.
Our staff as well.
That's a point that you also include your staff in that, because individuals don't necessarily have to be low-wage workers to participate in free tax prep services.
Exactly.
Share with us a little bit about the outcomes that you've experienced.
Well, what after working with the technicians that were to our site, because we are considered to be a mobile site, individuals were sent over and we provided them the office space And with them being a mobile unit, they came in with all of their materials that they would actually need to implement the process. So what I had to do was actually have the clients set up when they came in for the appointments and just escort them in to meet with the technicians so that they have their taxes prepared. And the process went very smoothly with that. Was limited concerns. The customers were satisfied with the services. Even the technicians were able to get them in a timely manner, get their information processed, and then have them out of the facility.
Phyllis, given the model that you've taken on, it sounds like it leverages the United Way in your community, which has a long, a many-year history in providing free tax preparation services across the country. And how did that partnership come about? Did you reach out to United Way, or did they come to you? How did that partnership start?
Actually, came to us, and from that, we established that partnership because this services Vidas is a very important process. Being under that, it provides resources for our assets development under our DEI plan. With that, we're able to leverage, as you mentioned, the resources and services, not only from the Job Center, but through United Way as well.
For those on the line who aren't familiar, could you share what DEI is?
DEI is a Disability Employment Initiative. The program is that it provides services to individuals that are currently receiving SSI, SSDI through the Department of Labor to provide them with employment and training.
Great. So what advice would you have for other job centers that are thinking about taking on free tax prep services?
I suggest that you embrace the program. This is a great opportunity for not only your clients and the community, but also you can serve your staff. And being able to have such a component within your center itself is so very helpful, because you can also touch individuals by packing them with information. And I say that because within our center, for instance, someone came in, had never ever been in our center before, we were able to capture that individual and inform them of all the different services that we do offer here at our center. So for that was a plus, for also informing them about the services within our center and hope that they would eventually come back or either inform someone else of the services that may need those services and to take advantage of them.
Great. So providing free tax prep has actually provided an opportunity to do additional outreach into the community. Exactly. So I want to take a minute I'm going to pull up the tax flyer that you shared. Everyone can see this as part of the marketing tools that you provide.
Thank you.
And this isn't just provided in the American Job Center, but it's provided out in the community as well.
From United Way has partnered with other sectors in the city, and they're also providing the services. But the agency was fortunate to become a part of this process and also provide services to our clients and customers.
Great. So I know this wasn't one of the questions that we prepared for, but I wonder if you have a favorite story of someone you've seen this tax season that you'd like to share.
I won't call her name.
Yeah, no, please don't.
But I will say that we did have an individual that came into the center and she wanted to have our taxes done, but because of the restraints, scheduling, and not able to actually have the taxes completed on that day, I informed her that we could work around her schedule because she was really upset to the point of how she really needed to have them done and conflict for her schedule. But I tried to assure her that regardless of the time restraints that she was dealing with, that I would make sure she would be able to get in on the next session and be at the top of the actual scheduling time so that she'd be able to be one of the first individuals because of the conflict with her schedule, and would be able to actually get in and get her taxes paid. And she didn't have to worry about losing her slot, that she'd be able to have it completed.
That's great. You're doing wonderful work there, Phyllis.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today.
You're so very welcome.
So I'm going to turn to Susie Pruitt and to Rick Mulder, who are both with the South Central Tennessee Workforce Alliance, and they do a slightly different model, so we're going to hear from them. So welcome, Susie. Welcome, Rick. How are you both doing?
Fine. Thank you. I'm going to start out, if that's okay. Good afternoon.
Sure.
We're the South Central Tennessee Workforce Alliance in Columbia, Tennessee. We cover 8 counties in our area. We very excited about this project. Been very really blessed with everything that's gone on so far. Just to give you a little information, we are doing the My Free Taxes, and we are partnering right now with the National Disability Institute and the Internal Revenue Service. And how that came about, we received a Disability Employment Initiative grant, like Chris had said in Memphis. They had received one too, and we're one of the 5 areas in Tennessee that received that. We also had a chance to apply for this, for the My Free Taxes, a small grant with the National Disability Institute, and received that. And the reason we'll talk about it a little bit further later on, but the reason we wrote this grant or wanted this My Free Taxes was because of something that was required in our Disability and Employment Initiative grant, and one of the things is asset development. And we had not really established anything with the objectives for that. We thought this would help us once they get the tax returns, but we'll talk a little bit about that later on. But I wanted to share with you the partners right now, National Disability Institute, and then our Workforce Alliance, South Central Tennessee Workforce Alliance, and the Internal Revenue Service. I'm going to turn it over to Susie to talk a few other things and then come back to me in just a second.
Great.
Hi. Okay. We now that you're using our PowerPoints, okay? So can you go to the one that says model, please? Thank you. All right. The model that we set forth using the free taxes, we partnered with the NDI and us and the Internal Revenue Service, but the National Disability Institute they're providing the administration of the staff and the program, their training, and actually hired the staff, which she had me interview them, and she worked with them. And it was great because we got to spend a lot of time talking together and interviewing the coaches, and we ended up hiring 2 coaches. And we decided to let her do a job share. And is also a Vidas coach, and so she works in other areas and other agencies doing the Vidas tax preparation. So she had been doing this for several years, and she took on another individual who's a new coach. I think she's done it one other year. And so she's mentoring that person, and it's working out really well. We're providing the on-site supervision and the workstations, the computer labs, and marketing and the outreach. And that's the part that we're working on really hard right now, is the marketing and the outreach. We're trying to work with the area churches, with some of the youth programs in the area, like you guys suggested earlier on. And we have some youth programs through South Central Tennessee Workforce Alliance, and we're trying to connect with those. I've also been meeting with the special ed directors in different county schools, the high school ones, because a lot of high school kids are working, and we're connecting with them to make sure that they got the information from My Free Taxes. Then the Internal Revenue Service is providing a technical support laptop. So they have also been very active, and I've been very pleased with everybody has been supportive, and they just call and make sure, do you have questions and what kind of support do you need, and that's been great. So,
Susie, could you take a minute just so those on the line to make sure we're all on the same page? Could you just let them know a little bit about why you would have a tax coach and what their job is?
Well, there were several reasons that we wanted the tax coach, And one was because of the Disability Employment Initiative, our charge with that grant was to do asset development. And so we've trying to put together some creative things to help our customers with the asset development and the Ticket to Work program and those individuals specifically with disabilities. But this fit well with everything else that we were doing, that it was just logical. I mean, our job, that everybody that works in our organization, our job is to put other people to work or to help them connect with good jobs and to help people who are underemployed become better employed. And that's just the whole thing that we do. That's our mission. And so paying income tax is a logical progression of going to work and having, being successful and making money. And that's just part of financial responsibility. And so for several different reasons, we really wanted to connect with the My Free Taxes.
Great, thanks.
Go ahead.
Okay, on the purpose slide, what we've talked about, again, as I mentioned earlier, one of the objectives in the Disability Initiative grant that we had received was to asset development. So, of course, we talked a little bit about wage management and the progression of things, but again, what we had, and you had mentioned a few minutes ago, or even Dan had mentioned as well, was the creation of individual development accounts. We're looking at that when individuals get their tax returns to encourage them to look at the money and put that into an IDA or into individual development account. And the big thing with that, and I'm just going to say, is they're special savings accounts designed to assist low-income people or people who have disabilities on their path toward asset ownership through match savings, and they assist with either financial education, buying of their first home, or expanding or investing into a small business. So the individuals we're working with through the grant, we're trying to get them back to work. So some of those individuals who have disabilities may want to start a small business, and that their savings can be matched with these IDA accounts to help them go into that sort of employment.
Okay, target populations, obviously because of our DEI grant, we wanted to, and our partner with the NDI, we wanted to people that had disabilities to target that population. But we also wanted to target the newly employed people that we have worked with in the Career Center. And a lot of those are going to be in both categories because we've been working really hard with folks with disabilities to get them connected with jobs and do on-the-job training. And so we didn't want to leave out the other newly employed people that would fall into this category. So we've really tried to reach out to all of our customers, youth, adults, and some senior citizens.
The new ones.
The ones that are newly employed, we've even got some folks that have gone to work for like General Motors Corporation that have been employed for several years. And so since they just went to work, this is a really good boost for them, get them started, and they're going to be making a lot of money hopefully in the next couple of years. But right now they're trying to recover from some pretty bad economic times. So. And outcomes. Because Rick and I haven't gotten to work directly with any of the folks that were coming in really for the My Free Taxes, we talked to our tax coaches, and I asked the one that's there during the day, I asked her yesterday, please send me some success stories or something interesting. And so she sent us two. And so we did two quotes. And the bottom quote is, I think that this program is great, and I hope it returns in the future. I was really impressed to know that a lot of the people that are coming in were already more familiar with My Free Taxes, and they have used the Vidas program or the My Free Taxes in the past, and so they were repeat customers. So it's been a good program so far. But the story that really caught our attention, the quote is, I never thought I would be preparing my own taxes. This was a story of a couple, evidently an older couple who came in, and they didn't realize what they were getting into when they first came into the center. They thought that the tax coach was actually going to prepare taxes for them, and neither one of them had ever used a computer before. And so since the slay and the tax coach said, I'll kind of walk you through it, the lady sat down at the computer first, and because the husband had gone to the restroom, and when he came back, she turned around and she said, I think you'll do a better job at this because I've never touched one of these things before. And so he sat down, and our tax coach kind of walked him through how to use the computer and how to input the information, and they were very proud of the fact that they had completed their own taxes. And so that's our success story.
Great.
I'm also going to share, too, before we any other questions, is we're actually right now, the two tax coaches that we have that are just sharing are working in one county. But I'm sure they will be working, we cover 8 counties. They're going to be covering other counties that we have. Of course, the things with the India, I believe it was a national disability, they're going to be paying their travel to go to these other counties. So it's a good thing to have the partnership with the National Disability Institute. We're having to provide the staff. The staff are being provided but we're providing technical or some oversight to them and the outreach. But we're also doing a new thing. We're going to be using Skype to connect with the other counties as well. So not just sending the people out and wasting money of whatever the pay on the mileage amount. We're going to use Skype to connect with individuals in those counties as well. I wanted to mention we do have one Vidas that is in our Lawrence County office. It's in one of our southern counties. So we're working with them, but again, we do have a Vidas person that is in one of our counties. So I wanted to share that with the group.
That's great. Thank you. Did you have a second success story here that you wanted to share?
I don't know the whole story on that second one. I'm sorry.
Okay. That's a great story about the couple that had never touched a computer before. So it's wonderful that we have both American Job Centers on because they do very different models. So, Phyllis described for us a model where it's really the community-based organization, the United Way, that's bringing VITA into the one-stop, but has a very important role of helping to facilitate the logistics within the one-stop and do the scheduling. And then Sue and Rick are using the My Free Taxes model, but it looks like their expansion is really going to blend with the model that Dan talked about previously, the kind of virtual VITA. You are providing support at a distance to individuals who are getting their taxes done for free. Maybe next year, if we share this information with you, that will be a whole model that's talked about rather than a blended model. Susan, Rick, I just wonder if I could also ask you if there's been any kind of unanticipated kind of aha moment as you've taken this on as part of the work that you provide.
Well, one thing that happened to me, this is just a personal aha moment, I think, was when Jamie Robinson with the National Disability Institute, we connected with one of our tax coaches. We had applied for the job. She had her come over, and I was going to interview her. It turns out that years ago when I worked for the Career Center, she was one of my GED students. So I was very excited about that, to have her, because we had a history together. But she is very excited about outreach. And, I thought they were going to do a really great job with the taxes, but I didn't know how we were going to do with the outreach and the marketing. But it looks like she's got a passion for, trying to pass on some of the things that she's learned and trying to pass on the services. And so that's not necessarily a tax aha moment, but it was just an overall aha moment for me.
Great, thanks so much. Do you have anything else you'd like to share before we open up the chat box and the Q&A window for our questions?
The other thing that I've got is I would like for any of you guys out there that ever get the opportunity to have the tax coaches and the My Free Taxes, if you can be creative with it. I know we struggled a little bit to begin with to make sure we got schedules and that kind of thing, but we're providing Saturday hours. We're going to do the Skype. We've got the job share, and we've also got night hours. And so I think that's going to allow us to reach a whole lot of people that maybe we wouldn't have been able to. So
that's great. Thank you so much. If you have any questions that you'd like answered, now would be a great time for you to submit it to the Q&A box or to the chat box. And have a few that have come in, but we're open for more, and we'd love to hear from you. So the question that I see is a question, does the RSpec charge for the training that they provide? Dan, you take that one?
No, that's all part of the support, and that is there's a charge for that training. So again, we're just trying to provide the training, support, and software at no cost to our partner organizations.
Thank you. Here's for you, Dan, before you go back on mute. The next question is, I heard mention of other favorable tax provisions. Can you tell me what you're referring to?
Well, I mean, there's obviously, we mentioned the earned income tax credit, the child tax credit, and then obviously there's other credits such as the education credits. And obviously in the last week or so, we just opened our systems to receive those returns with the education credits this year, residential energy credits. So there's a whole slew of credits that individuals may qualify for. And obviously that would be part of that conversation, volunteer to determine what credits they're eligible for.
I'd love to add here that when we think about individuals with disabilities and returning to work, we also oftentimes are looking at how they're connecting with other supports like benefits planning services. And one of the things that individuals who receive Social Security disability benefits, SSDI or SSI, one of the work incentives that they can utilize is called an impairment-related work expense. So you're on the line and you're helping people to better understand that side of work and helping them to look at and claim impairment-related work expenses. It's important for them to understand that they should hold on to that document that they develop for the Social Security office, because some of those impairment-related work expenses may also apply under the IRS rules. So doing financial empowerment strategies like helping people file their tax returns can again complement some of the work you're doing in simply helping people return to work. Along these lines, we didn't mention it, but one of the questions that comes up very frequently from individuals is that they wonder, if I go out and I get my taxes done and I claim these favorable tax provisions and I get the earned income tax credit or I get a tax refund, am I still going to be eligible for my public benefit? And at the federal level, regulations have helped to simplify the impact of tax refunds and the earned income tax credit and child care and dependent credit on an individual's federally funded public benefits. So individuals who receive any federally funded public benefits and receive a tax refund, they will not have that count against their public benefit that month, and it will not count as an asset for 12 calendar months. If you're in a community-based setting or you are at an American Job Center and hear that individuals are afraid to get their taxes done because they don't want their benefits interrupted, please advise them that as long as it gets any portion of federal money, so food stamps, Social Security benefits, HUD housing, TANF, any benefit that has any federal funding to it, their tax refund will not impact them, and it will not count as an asset for 12 months, which is really great support in encouraging individuals to file and to claim their relative tax credits. Another question that we got is, will IRS Spec support free tax prep in my nonprofit? I'm not at an American Job Center. So that's enough for you, Dan.
Yes, the answer to that is yes. So I know that the American Job Center has been the focus here today, but as I stated earlier, SPEC is, we partner with all sorts of community-based organizations, whether they're faith-based organizations or educational institutions or profits or basically anybody that wants to participate and provide these free services to low and moderate income taxpayers. We are certainly willing to provide the guidance and support and materials needed to get that off the ground. So we're certainly excited about those opportunities to expand access to free tax prep for taxpayers.
Another question that asks, how do I connect job seekers with a VIDA in my local area? There are a few ways that you can do that. As we mentioned, you can connect with the local tax coalition, but there's also a number that we're going to put in the chat box that is a great way for you to advise anybody that they can call and ask where there's a VIDA site located near them. So I'm going to ask Nakia if she could put up the phone number and the web address for that any of you can market and advertise or share with individuals that you serve, or use yourself to potentially get some free tax preparation services. Okay, we share a few more things with you before our time is up. Of course, the Lead Center, as you know, has a free webinar series that we're going to be providing the last Wednesday of the month, every month from 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. The webinar will include 3 series within this webinar series, one on leadership, one on employment, and one on economic advancement. We're in economic advancement series now, which will last through April. I'll share with you the next 2 dates in just a moment. From here, we're going to provide an employment mini-series and then a leadership mini-series. So we really hope you'll join us for all of these. The next webinar is going to be on March 27th from 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. It's going to be on financial education. We'll offer you a context for the need for and benefits of financial education, connections to free financial education curriculums and resources, practical steps to implementing Money Smart, which is a free curriculum in your American Job Center or community-based organization. And then we'll recruit some individuals to give you some stories from the field so you can hear from folks that are implementing this, how they're getting that done. And hope you'll join us again on April 24th from 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Eastern. This webinar will be called Using Work Incentives to Build Financial Stability. We'll be offering you an overview of the 2 Social Security disability benefit programs, opportunities for individuals to increase income through the use of SSDI work incentives and the use of SSI work incentives, and then we're going to show you some ways that you can support savings over the $2,000 SSI asset limit through available work incentives. This webinar is really targeted to individuals with disabilities and their stakeholders, so we invite any of you on the line to join us, but we hope you'll also market this opportunity to individuals that you serve so they can start to build their understanding of their Social Security disability benefits and how they can return to work while better understanding how to utilize the work incentives that are available to them. I wanted to thank you all for joining us today. We don't have any more questions, but we're always open to answering your questions. There's going to be a brief survey once the webinar ends. We encourage you to tell us how we're doing and to share with us your thoughts on other topics you might want to hear about and learn about, and we can do to make this series more useful for you. You can always reach out to myself, E. Jennings, at ndi-inc.org if you have any questions or want to provide us with any input. Again, to our presenters today, Dan Mayer, Phyllis Brunson, Susie Pruitt, and Rick Mulder. It was a pleasure to hear about the work that you're each doing and to help everyone on the line better understand how they can take on the individual level impact and the systems level change to implement free tax preparation services within American Job Center or their community-based organization. Thank you, everyone. We hope you'll join us next time.